So we're back with Tina4, and today we're going to be looking at routes, the starting point of getting something up on the screen and the building blocks to our web application. So the first thing we're going to do is bring up our PHP Storm and just remind us where we were. Just use this composer script to start up our web server. So we'll go and have a look at our web page, and hopefully that brings up the page which says nothing is found. There's no content anywhere here, and it gives us the little error page. So this is, once you've got this, you know that your Tina4 is up and running. If you did miss how we got that working in the installation, please check out the last video in the playlist. So how do we get stuff up on the screen? So before we start with that, I just want us to take us through program flow that is, I suppose, recommended, even if it's just recommended by me, but it's program flow that kind of fits into an MVC model. Again, I do not claim to be an expert on MVC, and I'm sure that aficionados will take some umbrage somewhere. But we're just going to look at program flow and basically a way to compartmentalize your code so that it's neat, maintainable, people can find stuff in it, and it doesn't get all confusing and the logic mixed up. So we've got some guy who's super easy to use our web app, and so he then goes and he clicks on something on our computer, and it's going to go into one of our routes. So in the MVC paradigm, that is a controller, and that route is going to send us somewhere. It's going to decide what it's going to do with us, depending on the different things that we've given it. So there's some logic in there that decides, well, we'll go this way, or we'll go that way, or we'll do this, or we'll do that. So it then goes off into the model, or where we've got helpers and can access data and can give us all the information and our business logic that all sits in there. That then goes back to our routes. The route then sends us off to our view, which is our templates, and we build our web pages. These are the pages that are actually going to go off to the client. You build those templates out with the data that you got from your model, which was the routes have passed on to you, and then you provide those pages to the client, who is still super happy with your web app. So that is kind of the program flow that we're going to deal with. But today we're going to specifically look at basic routes in Tina4 and how we can get started getting stuff on the page. So we're going to go back to our PHP Storm, our IDE. We've got our routes folder because that's where we're going to stick them. And the first, you could do it in different ways. You could put a route in a file. I like to put a number of routes in a file that kind of makes some sense. So I'm just going to start up a new PHP file. I'm going to call it general because I'm going to put in a bunch of general files in there. I'm going to add it to my Git repository. All right, so we want to create a route. So Tina4 has a number of routes in place, so we'll just start off with Tina4. Oh, I shouldn't have put that first. Backslash. So here we are going to just do a standard get route. So that's the methodology, and there's a method called add. So that then adds what we're doing to the list of routes. This might be familiar with other frameworks if you do it. Here we're going to have our URL, and so we actually are just going to put in our root URL here. And then we have a closure function here, which I'm going to just create an empty function for now. And that should be our route, if I got it right. Now, if we want to, we can then just echo out I am home, and we'll just leave it like that. So let's now go to our web browser. Let's refresh the page, and there we have it. Our first route, it picks up the route and it says I am home. So that is basically a route, and that's how very simple and easy you can start putting things on the page. To make it a little bit more complex, you can actually then do numerous routes on the page. So you could take this, you could copy and paste it, and let's call this one, what should we call it? About us. We'll say something about us. About us. So that looks pretty good, but we're not home anymore. I'm going to say something about us. All right, and again, back to our page, and this time we're just going to put about us, and there's something about us. So it's just very standard routing, and that is how you're going to start putting stuff up on the page. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the model and the view at this point. This is merely just talking about routes today and what we can do with them. So the question then is, well, how can we start passing stuff to the routes? So how do we start putting information in and doing those kind of things? Okay, so now we are going to try and pass some information into a route. So we are going to change this to a greeting route. Now, to be able to pass the information in, the function that we use as a closure function actually could really do with some helpers. And so there are two helpers that are written. There's firstly Tina4 response. And there is Tina4. See, I spelled Tina4 wrong. Go back and fix that now. Alright, so there should be an A in there. It'll make that just so much prettier. And now we can go ahead and echo out the request variable. So that is Tina4 takes all the incoming request stuff, and then it will package it up nicely for us so that we can see it. Now I know this is going to fail, but let's do it as an exercise anyway. So we're just going to put in here our greeting, and we are going to just pass a name, and we'll use angel eyes, which is one of my gamer tags, and we'll put it through, and it didn't give me. That was impressive. I actually thought that would fall over. Well, you learn something new every day. So I'm going to try and do this, because I thought that would fall over. So maybe something's changed. Maybe I've just never known any different. So let's see what this does for us now. All right, so if we do a print R, we actually get the entire request object that comes back, and there's loads of information in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretty it up a bit. Okay, so now we can actually see it a little bit better. So we can see that what comes in the Tina4 request object, there's a data field, there's a params field, and there's some other information. It's also got the server information, some of it in there. It also makes available the session information, all in request. So you don't have to try and pull the server, what do they call it, the magic variable or the global variable, I forget. So you don't have to pull that because that's all been included. You've got the server variable in here, you've also got the session variable in here, any files that have been passed, and then you've also got a params and a data variable. And so we've got the information. So what we can do now is we can actually just have a result, and we are going to say welcome, and we're going to use our request variable. We just need to be careful here. So we must remember this is an object, and then in that object we have these, but then it moves to, this moves to an array. So I'm going to use the params, and I'm going to then take out the name, and hopefully that will be a nice message for us. And that didn't seem to work. So what did I do wrong? I know what I did wrong was I just set the variable result, but what I forgot to do was I forgot to actually return anything back to the screen. And for this, I'm going to actually use the response variable. So the response variable packages up what we're sending off to the screen in a very nice little response. So the first thing I'm going to do is the content that we're going to use, and there's my results. And I'm also going to say that my HTTP, you can actually set the I think it's called the status. And then we are also going to say we would like that sent, no, I don't want that. We'd like that sent as text and HTML, please. So that you can also specify the format that you want. You can send it in JSON, you can send it a number of different ways. We're not going to touch too much on the response today. So let's see if I get it right this time. There we go. Welcome, Angel Eyes. So that is a route where you are now just passing through, where you can pass through query strings, and obviously you can pass through all manner of complicated things. Now we're going to make another route. Let's actually use this one because it is simpler and it will make it easier to see what we're doing next. So we're going to do another route now, but now you can actually include variables in the route name. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my request and my response, and I'm going to put them in my closure function because they are super useful. We are going to change this now, and we are going to pass a variable through the actual route itself. So we will maybe say user, and here I'm going to actually say name, and then at this front here I'm going to put name. And when we come to do our results, we are going to say welcome to, but this time we're just going to use the variable. And of course we are just going to return that straight out. Should have just copied the other one, shouldn't I? All I did was copy and paste from that. Should have just taken it the first way. Alright, so that should produce us another route, but this time instead of doing it like that, we're going to put a user, and we're going to put Angel Eyes, and there we go. Maybe we should have changed that so that it didn't look like nothing happened. So let's do that. We'll change it and say enter Angel Eyes, and there it is. So that then pretty much is routes. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit just so we can kind of see what's going on. I'm going to take this one out. And we'll put in a little bit of information about it. Okay, routes to greet the user. Okay, so we have the route here. The information comes in. It comes in here. This here is where you would basically build your business logic. Business logic. And you would maybe send it off to your model here. Do other funky stuff. And you would maybe prepare your data, and then on the return you actually send it off to a template. And so in the concept of the routes that we were talking about, it is going to create the routes. It's going to, you do all your stuff in the route where you send it off to the model, you let it all do all the fancy stuff, you prepare your data for your template, you send it off to the template, and the template then renders out. And that is the basic of a routes. And so now you can get up and going and build an entire website of receiving routes. You can also do post routes and other things. And yeah, so enjoy. You can start building your Tina4 websites. The details to the Tina4 docs will be in the description below, so you can go and see the page on routes there. There is actually quite a good page written up on how to do routes. If you've got questions, again, please leave them in the comments below, and we will hopefully see you next time when we'll start talking about the model in a very simple way, without touching on databases and the ORM. But we'll start talking about the model and maybe creating some helper files for us. And then in the episode after that, we'll start talking about the view and creating some templates to really start doing it. And then in the final one, we will tie them all together and just create a very small app that runs through the whole program flow that we discussed in the beginning. So thanks very much, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.